Have you ever helped someone without knowing they once humiliated you? It was a cold, rainy evening in Atlanta, and Marcus Reed was driving home after finishing his late shift at the auto shop. He had grease on his hands, tired eyes, and an old car that rattled with every turn. Yet even in that exhaustion, he carried a heart full of patience. Life had never been fair to Marcus, but he had learned one truth: kindness costs nothing. As he drove along the empty highway, he noticed a luxury car parked on the side, its hazard lights flashing in the darkness. A man stood beside it, soaked in rain, trying to flag someone down. Marcus slowed his car. For a moment he hesitated. People rarely stopped for him when he needed help, but something inside whispered, "Do what's right, even if no one does it for you." He pulled over and stepped out. The rain hit his face like tiny needles, but he walked toward the stranded man. "Need a hand, sir?" Marcus asked, his voice calm and sincere. The man turned, squinting through the rain. His expression flickered between surprise and discomfort. Yeah, my car just died," the man replied, his tone uneasy. Marcus got to work opening the hood. His hands moved with skill, checking wires, battery, and plugs. Within minutes, the engine coughed back to life. "You're good to go," Marcus said, wiping his hands. The man forced a half smile. "Thanks, I didn't expect someone like you to stop." Marcus paused, confused but too drained to respond. He just nodded and walked back to his car. As Marcus drove away, something about that man's face bothered him. He couldn't place where he had seen him before. There was a strange familiarity, like a wound that hadn't healed. He brushed it off and focused on the road ahead. But deep inside, a storm was brewing, one that neither of them could escape. Before the night ended, Marcus whispered to himself, "Maybe someday people will stop seeing color before character." And if you believe kindness still matters in a world full of hate, don't just scroll away, hit that subscribe button and be part of stories that prove humanity still exists. Have you ever met someone who made you feel uneasy, but you couldn't remember why? Marcus couldn't shake off the image of the man he helped. The rain had stopped, but his mind kept replaying that face, sharp jawline, cold eyes, and that uneasy half-smile. Something about the way the man said, "Someone like you," felt heavier the more he thought about it. The next morning, Marcus arrived at the auto shop as usual. The bell over the door jingled when he entered, and the smell of motor oil filled the air. His coworker, Jamal, greeted him with a grin. "Man, you look like you didn't sleep," Jamal said. Marcus chuckled softly, just thinking too much. He tried focusing on work, fixing engines and greeting customers, but at lunchtime, while scrolling through local news on his phone, a headline caught his eye. "Businessman Daniel called to speak at City Charity Gala tonight." Marcus froze. The photo showed the same man he'd helped last night. And then the memory hit him. 2 years ago, Marcus had applied for a mechanic's contract with Cole's luxury dealership. During that interview, Daniel had laughed at his resume, saying, "You people are better off cleaning cars, not managing them." Marcus had walked out humiliated that day. He had pushed the memory so deep, he almost forgot the pain. But now, fate had brought that man back into his life. That evening, Marcus sat in his old apartment, the TV buzzing faintly in the background. "Why him? Why now?" he muttered. Life had a cruel sense of humor. He thought helping Daniel was just an act of kindness, but it was beginning to feel like something bigger, a test, maybe even destiny. The next day, while repairing a customer's car, a familiar voice echoed from behind him. Marcus turned, his heart skipping a beat. Standing there, wearing a tailored suit and the same smug look, was Daniel Cole. "Small world," Daniel said with a grin. "You work here?" Marcus wiped his hands slowly. "Yeah, where else would someone like me be, right?" Daniel hesitated, realizing Marcus remembered. But before he could respond, Officer Miller entered the shop, greeting Marcus warmly. "Hey, Reed, got a minute?" Daniel looked confused, seeing how respectfully the cop treated Marcus. Something inside Daniel's pride cracked that moment. For the first time, he wasn't in control of the situation. And deep down, Marcus knew this meeting was far from over. Because sometimes, life doesn't just reconnect you with people, it gives you a chance to show who you've become. And if you believe in second chances and silent revenge wrapped in kindness, hit subscribe, because the next chapter will reveal what fate had planned for Marcus. Have you ever seen the same person who once looked down on you, now forced to look up? Daniel Cole stood there awkwardly inside the small auto shop, surrounded by the smell of oil and metal, a world far different from his polished offices and glass towers. Marcus looked calm, collected, but behind his quiet eyes was a storm of memories, that cruel laugh, those words, "You people are better off cleaning cars." I wanted to say thanks again for last night," Daniel said, his tone softer now. "I didn't realize who you were." Marcus wiped his hands on a cloth and looked at him steadily. "Didn't matter who I was when my car broke down," Marcus replied. "You just needed help, that's all I saw." Daniel shifted uneasily. "Look, about that interview a few years ago," Marcus interrupted, his voice calm but firm. "You don't need to explain. I learned that day that respect doesn't come with a paycheck." The shop went silent for a moment. Even Jamal, working in the back, stopped pretending to be busy. Daniel sighed, trying to hold onto his pride. "You know, Marcus, I've been meaning to change how I run things." "Maybe we can." Before he could finish, Officer Miller walked back into the shop. "Marcus, just wanted to tell you, remember that hit and run on Highway 19 last night?" he said. Marcus nodded. "Yeah, I drove past it after helping that guy." Miller looked at Daniel. "Funny thing, the car in that case matches your plate number, Mr. Cole." Daniel's face went pale. "That's impossible," he snapped. I must have hit something by accident." Miller's voice was cold. "Then you'll explain it downtown." Marcus stepped aside, speechless, as the same man who once insulted him now stood trembling under flashing police lights. Daniel turned to him, eyes full of desperation. "Marcus, you don't believe I meant to do it, right? You'll help me?" Marcus looked at him long and hard. "I help people who learn from their mistakes. Maybe this time you'll understand what humility feels like." Officer Miller led Daniel away. As the door closed, Marcus exhaled slowly. He didn't feel joy or revenge, just peace. Sometimes life didn't need your anger. It handled justice on its own. Marcus looked up at the dark sky outside the window and whispered, "Maybe this is how the world learns, one truth at a time." If you believe that life always finds its way to balance the scales, don't just watch. Subscribe to join stories that remind us that humanity still stands stronger than hate. Have you ever imagined standing in front of the very person you once humiliated and realizing your fate rests in their hands? A week had passed since Daniel's arrest. The city buzzed with gossip, a respected businessman caught in a hit and run. Marcus had tried to move on, focusing on his work, but fate wasn't finished writing their story yet. On a crisp Monday morning, Marcus received an unexpected letter. It was from the county courthouse, summoning him as a key witness to the case. When he read the name of the accused, Daniel Cole, his heart skipped a beat. He had no idea that his small act of kindness would lead him right back to this moment. The courtroom was packed the next day. Cameras clicked, people whispered. Daniel sat at the defendant's table, his confidence gone, his eyes empty. Across the room, Marcus walked in quietly, wearing a plain suit. His presence drew murmurs. The man who had once helped Daniel now stood as witness to the truth. But then something unexpected happened. Before the hearing began, the courtroom doors opened and the judge walked in. Daniel's jaw dropped. His eyes widened in disbelief. It was Marcus Reed. Yes, life had taken a turn few could imagine. Marcus had been studying part-time for years, completing his law degree after work, slowly rising through dedication and perseverance. He was recently appointed as an assistant judge, filling in for this special hearing. The courtroom fell silent. Marcus took his seat with calm authority. "Court is now in session," he said. His voice was steady, not angry, not vengeful, just firm. Daniel looked at him, stammering, "Marcus, I didn't know." "Please, I didn't mean." Marcus raised a hand. "This court isn't about what you meant, Mr. Cole. It's about what you did." Each word carried the weight of every moment of prejudice, every scar Marcus had endured silently. Yet there was no hate in his eyes, only truth. After reviewing the evidence, the court ruled against Daniel. He was sentenced for his crime, but before leaving, he looked back at Marcus and whispered, "You could have destroyed me completely. Why didn't you?" Marcus replied softly, "Because hate only wins if we let it." Daniel was led away in silence. Marcus sat there for a moment longer, staring at the empty courtroom. He thought about that rainy night, how one act of kindness had revealed so much about humanity, pride, and grace. He whispered, "Justice isn't revenge, it's restoration." And if you believe the world still needs stories that restore faith in humanity, hit subscribe and stand with stained humanity, where every story reminds us that even in a broken world, kindness always wins.